Hey, everybody. Hello.
7 days.
7 days for what? Hello? Hello? Who is this? Trying to make a face. Shut up, Frank! They fucking hung up.
It's Drewski McGillicuddy's The Ring movie review.
Hey everybody, it's Drewski McGillicuddy, and this video was brought to you by patron Carbonated Life. Anyway, he had requested I watch a movie that I haven't seen in one of those cases where it's been a criminally long time since I've seen one of my favorite horror films. Not to fucking ruin the rating, okay? But we watched The Ring from 2002, the year I graduated high school. And it's directed by Gore Verbinski, who went on to direct the Pirates of the Caribbean movie and A Cure for Wellness, which a lot of people didn't see, which is a shame. And maybe one of these days I'll sit down and I'll review that sumbitch. But anyway, so let me start off right away by telling you a little story about back when, we used to watch bootleg movies on the internet, which I'm sure people still do, but this was back when you had to use like Napster or LimeWire, and you'd have to download it, and then 3 days later, you got yourself a movie to watch. So that's what happened, and I never had one of them fancy monitors. When they first came out, it was always, one of the little box, whatever have you. There's probably an image of it on Google Images. Anyway, so I watched this movie on a bootleg on my PC, and I hated it. I was like, it's something about the sound. I guess it didn't sound right, and it wasn't even the movie's fault. It was just the quality of the movie that I watched, and then I was kind of in and out of the movie, and I didn't really get it. I was like, whatever. Well, that night, I go to bed, and I have the worst possible nightmare you could ever possibly imagine. Actually, I have had one worse nightmare. Maybe we'll talk about that sometime this month. We'll just talk about a nightmare anyway. So anyway, there I was sleeping in my bed, and all of a sudden I was wet. You ever get the feeling that you're wet? And I was wet, and I was cold, and it was dark, and it was real dark, but there was a light. When I looked up, there was a light, and then all of a sudden, there was a ring, because somebody was closing this lid on this motherfucking well that I was in. Oh, I guess that didn't work because I showed you the ring. But yeah, I was screaming as loud as I could, and nothing would come out. It was like this. And then I woke up like, what the? Shit. So then a couple weeks later, when it hit DVD, I went and rented it and went over to my friend Crystal, who some of you might know as the Chicken Lady. If you've seen that video, it's way back in the bowels of my channel where we had some terrible chicken from Mario's Lord of the Wings. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're talking about The Ring. So yeah, I didn't necessarily like it, but it wasn't the movie's fault because I watched it on some bootleg bullshit on some 13 or 19-inch computer monitor. Okay? So then when I went and watched it on an actual television, and I could actually see the incredible cinematography and just the way the shots, like everything in this movie is meticulous, you know what I mean? It's like perfect. And then the story, which is based on the Japanese film Ringu, which for some odd reason I haven't seen. But I will rectify that as soon as I find me a copy out in the wild. Because I don't like to buy things on Amazon. I mean, if they show up in my mailbox or at the place where we usually get our things, then so be it. But until then, I gotta find that shit in the wild. So back to the movie. The movie is about this girl. Actually, it's not really about this girl. Well, this girl. It opens up with this girl and her friend are having a sleepover, and she's telling her friend about blah, blah, blah. And then her friend says, have you heard about the videotape that kills you when you watch it? Which, would that even, work these days? Because nobody even knows what a videotape is. They're like, what's that in your background? No, I'm kidding. So they're talking about this videotape, and then she tells her friend that she had watched it, and like it gets real dramatic, right? And then all of a sudden she's joking. But it turns out she really did watch it. So this is one of my favorite openings in a horror film. It really sets the tone for the entire movie. You get that foreboding and ominous feeling that is like pretty much throughout the entire movie. And it's just disturbing and beautiful at the same time. Okay? So, so the girl dies, and then it just so happens that her aunt is played by Naomi Watts, who is just one of the most breathtaking women that have ever lived, and walked the face of this earth. But anyway, she plays Rachel, and she's going to pick her son Aiden up, and this is a couple days after whatever her name is, fucking Joan of Arcadia, okay? Joan of Arcadia dies. 3 days later, she's going to pick her son up from school. The teacher wants to talk to her, says, hey, your son's drawing this stuff. And she's like, well, he's just dealing with the death of his cousin. They were very close. But turns out he drew it before the death of her cousin. So it's like, is this the first movie to introduce, like, little kids drawing weird shit? Because I feel like that went into a trend there for a while in the 2000s and whatnot. Anyway, so she's like, oh, no, he's fine, don't worry about him. And like, you can kind of tell right away, because he even calls her Rachel instead of mom. That like, they kind of resent each other because, he was kind of an unplanned pregnancy. She had him very young, so they have this kind of relationship where he is like very independent. I guess like she taught him young to how to take care of himself so that she could be a workaholic, because she's pretty much a workaholic. She like I guess works for some kind of newspaper, but I don't know if she's a journalist, an editor, or what she's doing.
A journalist.
I guess she is a journalist.
Reporter.
And a reporter. Anyway, Rachel is a journalist and or reporter for the... What? Are they in Seattle? I feel like they're in Seattle because it's constantly raining and it's gloomy the entire movie, which is like the perfect setting. The fuck was that?
I do not know.
It's like the perfect setting. I got some weird shit going on outside. This is the perfect setting for a horror film. It's constantly raining. It's constantly dreary. It's very depressing. Okay? So anyway, she's like snooping around. They go to the funeral. She's snooping around trying to find out, what the fuck. Will you look up her goddamn name real quick?
Which one, Rachel?
No, Amber Tamlin.
Oh. Yeah, hold on.
Oh, fucking Amber Tamlin's name.
Yeah, the actress's name. That's pretty good.
Well, I used to watch Joan of Arcadia with my mom.
Katie.
Katie. All right, everybody. Katie. What? All right, so they go to the funeral, and she's trying to figure out what Katie was into, so she goes out and starts talking to her friends, talking about, oh, yeah, me and my girlfriends, we used to go up to my room and smoke on some reefers, and, trying to get cool with these kids. And she's like, so was she into any of that kind of stuff? And this dude's like, no, it's not about that. It's about the videotape. And the girls are like, shut up, whatever your name is. And he's like, no. They both watched the tape. They both died at the same time. and these other 2 people died that watched the tape with them because they went to this mountain lodge, and the reception up there is terrible, so they rented a videotape from the front desk, and it just happens to be this girl's mind burned onto a tape, and when you watch it, it kills you in 7 days, because after you watch the videotape, the phone rings, and a voice on the end of the phone or the other end of the line says 7 days, and then you got 7 days to figure out how the hell to beat this. And nobody else up to this point had figured out how to beat this, but nobody else up to this point was Naomi Watts. So anyway, Rachel goes and tries to get down to the bottom of this. She goes and finds photos and finds out where the girls and guys was a staying, and she goes up there and she watches the videotape. And I gotta tell you, watching this thing, I mean, look at it. This is fucking disturbing shit. Like, this is, nightmare fuel. And it reminds me of another story that I'll gladly tell you right now. Not that I condone this sort of thing, but when I was in my early 20s, we had accidentally taken some mushrooms. And hell, all we did was put the DVD on. Never pressed play. If you put, remember how I was talking about the House of a Thousand Corpses DVD menu? Shit. Try watching the Ring DVD menu on shrooms. It ruined my night. I went and hid under my covers, said my prayers, and a couple hours later I came back out to check on my friends, make sure I didn't have to call the police. And when I had asked them if I had to call the police, or if I needed to call the police, they got all bent out of shape and was trying to cut my ass. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We're not here to talk about that.
Can I give you a fun fact?
Oh my God.
It ties into your last video.
Okay, well just go ahead. Hurry up.
Okay. Until Stephen King's It was released in 2017, this movie was the highest grossing horror remake in history, with a total worldwide gross of over $249 million.
That is a fun fact. 249 million?
Yes.
Yeah, so take that. It before you, it was The Ring. And yeah, I mean, it goes without saying, because this movie, there's not even that much scary shit the scary shit's spread out. You're just captivated by the story of Rachel trying to figure out where this videotape came from, what the hell's going on, and then trying to stop it, because later on she finds out, she finds out that when she takes her picture that her face is all distorted. So then she calls Noah, who it turns out is her baby daddy, and he comes over and she has him watch it, and then they take his picture and his face is all distorted, but he doesn't believe it right away. But then when he calls to tell her he does believe it, because he's buying a pack of cigarettes and sees his face in this thing, he's like, oh shit. And then he calls her, and when she answers the phone, she had just got done finding out that Aiden had watched the tape. And then she tries to hang up on the voice, but then when the phone rings again, it's him saying that he believes her, and she says he watched it. That's when you find out that, it's her baby daddy, because he said, who watched it? She says, our son. And it's, oh man, just Naomi Watts. What a fucking actress she is. Jesus Christ. Anyway, so yeah, now the rest of the movie is them going to this island, and I gotta say, I was obsessed with lighthouses for a while after watching this, and I'd freak out every time I saw a well. I'd be like, that bitch is gonna come get me. And then it's just the fact that that name has such a beautiful ring to it, Samara. If I had ever had a daughter, I was gonna name her Samara Rain. Anyway, what was my next question? They go, and he's trying to break into the hospital, get these medical records, and she goes to the farm because they keep seeing the images of the horses. speaking of the horses, can't forget about the horses. Even though it's like one of the most tragic things I've ever fucking seen in my goddamn life, I'm gonna show it to you right now. Here we go. Here's a, like, how you gonna show people this? Like, is that a real horse? Did you kill this fucking horse so that you could make this movie and disturb me for years and years and years? Because, I mean, this movie, I mean, it probably gave me more than just that one nightmare. I just don't know it. Yeah. And then Brian Cox. This was like my introduction to Brian Cox because he's become one of my favorite underrated actors over the past couple years. But, yeah. You know the story. You know, this girl was evil to begin with. These people wanted a daughter so bad, and then they got this daughter that, you know, was just bad. Just bad all around. All she wants to do is hurt people. And she's sorry. She's sorry that that's all she wants to do is hurt people. So, you know, they do what any logical person would do, and they suffocate her and throw her in a well. But apparently she had 7 days to somehow summon this fucking videotape. So now anytime anybody watches it, they'll die 7 days later because that's how long she survived at the bottom of this well. And it's just, this movie is just such an incredible fucking journey. Like, you know, finding out your niece passes away, figuring out where she was, how it happened, and then finding the videotape, and then it happened to you, but you fucking solved it. And then, like, to think at the end of this movie, well, towards the end, you think that the movie's over, you think it's a happy ending because they saved this girl from this well. Because that's what happens. They go to the cabin, they find the well, she falls down in it, and then it's kind of a touching moment when she's sitting there holding Samara, but then it turns into the scary, like, girl from A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. She looks down, all of a sudden it's a skeleton. But, what was I talking about? Yeah, it was a touching moment. And you think, you know, hey, everything worked out. They helped her. And then she goes home and she tells Aiden, we helped her. Don't worry, everything's fine. He's like, wait, whoa. You helped her? You helped her? You shouldn't have done that. Why did you do that? She didn't need your help. She never sleeps. Because that's the other thing. The girl never sleeps. Anyway, so then we get to one of the most iconic fucking movie moments in the past 20 some odd years. And Noah is just sitting there. He's looking at photos with his magnifying glass, and the TV turns on. He gets up, turns it off, turns back on. There's the well. Here she comes. She's coming out of that TV. What? She's coming out of the TV. And, like, it's, this is 2002, everybody. And it's still, like, aside from, like, the part where it shows her actual face. Well, I mean, I guess it's supposed to look like that because it's, like, you know, she's supposed to still be TV, whatever. Because it's video. I don't know. Anyway, the effects are fucking epic! But no, this movie ends on a, you know, kind of a hopeful note. But not necessarily, because she has to figure out what she did. So anyway, Rachel's calling Noah, trying to figure out if he's okay. And she's driving recklessly, trying to get there, runs up the steps instead of waiting for the elevator, comes in, and there he is, same face Katie had. It's terrifying. But then she goes home, and she's, like, it's actually probably my favorite part of the movie. She comes in and just yells at Eddie, go to your room! And he's like... And it's fucking hilarious, but it's also like, damn, bitch, at the same time. But anyway, so she's got to figure out what the hell she did that Noah didn't do. And then that's when she realizes she made a copy. So she has Aiden make a copy. So then it kind of keeps it open for a sequel. But you probably didn't necessarily have to make a sequel, because the only thing I remember about the sequel is some terrible CGI deers and, like, the bathtub floating upwards. Other than that, I don't really remember, like, Samara's trying to be Aiden or something. I don't remember. Maybe one of these days, we'll sit down and we'll watch the sequel. But until then, obviously this movie gets a 10 out of 10. One of the greatest horror movies ever fucking made. And if you don't agree with that, you kiss my ass. Anyway, I'm sure you agree with that, though, because, you know, it's true. Surprisingly, it's got a 7.1, which I guess that's close enough. But yeah, The Ring. Fucking masterpiece. Gore Verbinski, why don't you make some more goddamn movies for my viewing pleasure? Anyway, if you've liked this, there's buttons. Look, just push them, okay? And then you can follow me on the socials. And I want to thank everybody for watching. That's another thing. It's past my bedtime.